For 3 long years, silence became part of my daily life. Not the peaceful kind of silence, but the heavy one, the kind that sits on your chest when you wake up and follows you into sleep. The kind that leaves unanswered questions echoing in your mind during quiet moments. It all started after a simple argument with my older brother, Mark. It wasn't dramatic, no shouting, no slammed doors, just one of those tense conversations siblings sometimes have about money and responsibility. We both said things we probably shouldn't have. But we had argued before. We had always found our way back to each other. This time, though, something was different. The Sunday phone call never came. At first, I didn't worry. Mark worked long hours in Ohio, driving between job sites. I told myself he was busy. A week passed. Then 2. I sent a text. No reply. I called. Straight to voicemail. I assumed he needed space. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into a year. And then another. Silence slowly transformed into pain. Holidays became the hardest. Thanksgiving dinners felt incomplete. Christmas mornings were quieter than they used to be. My mother tried to hide her concern, but I could see it in her eyes every time she asked, "Have you heard from Mark yet?" I always shook my head and forced a smile. Deep down, guilt started to grow. I replayed our last conversation again and again, wondering if I had pushed him away for good. I imagined him choosing distance over family, choosing pride over connection. It hurt, but eventually, I accepted it. People leave, I told myself. Even family. 3 years after his disappearance from my life, something unexpected happened. It was a regular Tuesday afternoon. I was at work, staring at my computer screen, when my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. Normally, I wouldn't have answered. But something told me to pick up. A calm female voice introduced herself as Rachel. She said she was a social worker calling from Indiana. Then she asked a question that made my heart stop. "Are you related to a man named Mark Thompson?" I couldn't breathe. My hands started shaking as I said yes. What she told me next shattered everything I thought I knew. Mark hadn't disappeared by choice. Nearly 3 years earlier, he had been involved in a devastating car accident. A drunk driver ran a red light and slammed into his vehicle at full speed. Mark survived, but barely. He suffered a traumatic brain injury. His body healed slowly, but his memory didn't. Names vanished. Phone numbers disappeared. Entire chapters of his life were erased. He woke up in a hospital unable to remember people who once meant everything to him. Including me. Rachel explained that Mark had no emergency contacts stored in his phone. No written addresses. No social media accounts he could access. The man who once remembered every birthday now struggled to remember yesterday. He spent months in recovery, then years learning how to function again, how to work, how to manage daily life, how to trust his own thoughts. And during all that time, he believed something heartbreaking. He believed he had no one. The silence that tortured me for years wasn't rejection. It was confusion. It was loss. It was survival. When I finally went to see him, my emotions were overwhelming. I didn't know what to expect. Would he recognize me? Would he feel something familiar? Or would I be a stranger to him? The moment I walked into the room, he looked up. Our eyes met. He smiled politely. Not warmly. Not emotionally. Politely. Like you do when someone seems important, but you don't know why. That smile broke me. I introduced myself. My voice cracked as I said my name. He repeated it slowly, like he was testing the sound. I started telling him stories. About our childhood. About fishing trips with our dad. About the late-night gas station snacks. About the Sunday phone calls he never missed. As I spoke, his expression changed. Tears filled his eyes. "I always felt like something was missing," he said quietly. "I just never knew what it was." That moment rewrote 3 years of pain. Anger vanished instantly. So did resentment. Even guilt faded. All that remained was love. And understanding. Mark told me his side of the story. After leaving the hospital, he tried to rebuild his life with the pieces he had left. Some memories returned slowly. Others never came back. He felt an emptiness he couldn't explain, like walking through life knowing a door existed somewhere but never finding it. He said there were nights he felt lonely without knowing why. Nights where he felt like someone was missing him, even though he didn't know who. He assumed that if no one came looking for him, maybe no one was meant to. That assumption almost destroyed him. Reconnecting wasn't easy. Some days, he remembered more. Other days, he struggled. We had to build a relationship that already existed, but from the beginning again. It required patience, forgiveness, and time. But love made it possible. Slowly, Sunday phone calls returned. Not because of habit, but because of choice. Today, some memories are still gone. But the silence is gone too. And that changed everything. This experience taught me something important. Silence doesn't always mean abandonment. Sometimes, life interrupts people in ways we can't see. Sometimes, tragedies hide behind misunderstandings. And sometimes, the people we think walked away were actually fighting battles we never knew about. Now, I never assume. I check in. I say, I love you, more often. Because life is fragile, memory is delicate, and time is unforgiving. But love survives, even when memory doesn't. Rebuilding a relationship that already existed was harder than I expected. Mark was physically present, but mentally he was still trying to catch up with his own life. Some days he remembered small details, a laugh, a habit, a feeling. Other days, he struggled to recognize emotions he knew he should feel but couldn't fully explain. I learned quickly that recovery isn't a straight line. It's messy, confusing, and painfully slow. At first, I talked more than he did. I filled the silence with stories, hoping something would stick. I told him about our parents, about how mom still cooked too much food, about how dad never stopped talking about his sons. Mark listened carefully, nodding, sometimes smiling, sometimes staring into space. He said it felt like watching a movie of a life that belonged to him, but from the outside. There were moments that hurt. When he forgot my birthday. When he asked the same question twice. When he looked at me and said, I know you matter to me, I just don't know why yet. Those words cut deep, but I reminded myself that this wasn't rejection. This was damage caused by something beyond his control. Slowly, trust began to grow again. Not because of memory, but because of consistency. I showed up. I called. I listened. I stayed patient even when it was hard. And over time, something beautiful happened. He started to remember how it felt to be a brother, even if the memories themselves were incomplete. One evening, during a quiet drive, Mark said something I'll never forget. He told me that during the years we were apart, he often felt like he was living with a shadow. A feeling that someone important was missing, even when he couldn't name them. He said that loneliness doesn't always come from being alone, it sometimes comes from forgetting who you are connected to. That sentence changed the way I see people forever. I realized how easily we judge silence. We assume people don't care. We assume they moved on. We assume the worst because it protects us from disappointment. But sometimes, silence is just pain we can't see. Today, Mark is doing better. He has routines. He has stability. Some memories have returned in fragments. Others probably never will. But we don't wait for memory anymore. We focus on the present. We build new moments instead of chasing old ones. Every Sunday, we talk. Sometimes about serious things, sometimes about nothing at all. Those calls matter more now than they ever did before. They are proof that connection doesn't need perfection, it just needs effort. This experience taught me something powerful. Life can change in a second. One accident, one phone call, one missed moment, and the people we love can disappear without ever choosing to leave. So now, I don't wait. I reach out. I say what I feel. I don't assume silence means absence. Because sometimes, the people who seem far away are actually fighting to find their way back. And when they do, love is what guides them home. If this real-life story touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your support helps us bring more true stories to light. Thank you for watching Real Life USA Stories.